It is Groundhog Day when it comes to the Toronto Raptors. Yet again, a game it looked like they were trying to lose, and they won again.
What were they trying to lose?
Based off of their substitution patterns, the fourth quarter sure looked like it.
Why is Jakob playing?
These are all great questions. This is Basketball Island. Hein, Hambone, Fab. You look at this month of March. You just said it right before we started taping.
Yeah.
The Raptors are 7-5 this month in games that it seems like they're trying to lose. I think I saw on Twitter someone like they're basically quiet quitting these games based off of their substitution patterns. We saw it again yesterday. Benched most of the starters, and they still pulled that game out.
We're telling harsh truths here, all right? Hard truths.
Stannis Baratheon.
This is the way we go about things. Listen, man. We said it a couple pods ago. You cannot half-step when you're trying to tank. Because if you look at the other teams that are beneath you, they're going full at it. The Sixers, Fab's favorite team, they're doing what they need to do. Same thing with Brooklyn, although Brooklyn's been in games, so they're kind of playing with fire. There is this idea that you need to appease the players of the Raptors organization, and I get that they want to play. I get that they want to put up monsters, like put up stats down the stretch here, but like for the better of the franchise, you need to lose these games, and I feel like Raptors are going to be locked into 7th last. Like I feel like that's where
they're at now, right?
Yeah,
so
so
if you look at the draft lottery odds, they are kind of a game and a half or 2 games ahead of Philly and Brooklyn. Doesn't feel like they're going to pass.
They're
them.
not.
And they own the tiebreaker against Philly. There's a game against
It doesn't
Brooklyn
seem like,
Wednesday
although
night.
Miami's been bad, it doesn't seem
No,
like they're going to get
they're
caught
not
the
either.
other way on the same end, too.
No.
So it seems like they're sort of stuck at 7.
The inability, the Raptors organization, to cajole, persuade, whatever term you want to use, to get some of these guys to sit for the better of the franchise, to me is puzzling. Obviously, we'll play the result every single time. You're winning games that you're not supposed to win. Why is Jakob playing in games? He seems to be the key to the operation, yet he's playing every other game, and those games happen to be against really, really bad opponents, and you're getting wins.
Which is weird, though, because Pirtle seems like the guy who's been most on board and most accepting.
From the beginning of the season.
Before the season, he kind of understood this was a rebuild. So I don't think he's a guy who's even pushing to play right now. So, like, the whole roadmap of what they're trying to do is very confusing. They're 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yep.
Guys play certain games, then they have a minute cap, then they don't play the 4th.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand what this plan is supposed to be.
Is there a plan?
I think the 2 things that jump out to me is, number one, you have other teams in the league that are clearly doing it with players that arguably have higher profiles than the players on the Raptors. Like, look at Tyrese Maxey. He's arguably the best player of any of these lottery-bound teams, and they're willfully just putting him on the bench. Philly is very motivated to get into the bottom 6. Utah Jazz, okay, that's fine. Some of these guys, they're not proven, but their front office has them accepting the nature of what the team is trying to do, very, very much in line with teams' expectations.
Yep.
They're doing it properly, so why are the Raptors players not able to do that? I have questions about that all the time. And to me, it's like I'm a parent. I joke about traditional values versus like being soft and gentle to your kids.
Yo, it's
like
called gentle parenting.
gentle
guys.
parenting.
Gentle parenting.
At the end of the day, all these guys, they have their contracts already in hand. So you got to think a little bit more, not just about yourself as an individual, but what's for the best for the team. Javon was here last week when you were talking about some players understand what it's like to bring in new players that are going to help the franchise, and then some players are going to look over their shoulders and be like, this guy's just going to take away from my numbers. I'm getting worried. What type of players are on this team right now? Are they looking over their shoulder, or are they seeing the bigger picture that somebody could come into the organization and help this team become that elevated level of team that they're trying to become?
So how much of this should be on management then? Should management be going to a Scotty Barnes and say, yeah, we know you want 65 games, but too damn bad. You need to sit. I guess the way I'm saying is like, are you really going to damage the Scotty relationship? You just mentioned it, Wes. His contract is signed. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, max contract.
So then management needs to tell him to sit down. Is that what it is?
I mean, yeah, they should,
Yes.
but they've rolled out the red carpet for the guy since he's been drafted here, right? So it's like, for me, there's no chance in hell he makes All NBA because the team's not winning enough games.
Yeah.
Like no one makes All NBA and wins 30 games a season. All defense, that's 10 players in the league. He ain't gonna make that either. Although his defense has been phenomenal this year.
Yeah.
I think it's been that's where he's made the biggest leap, and you see it.
And as a team, they've played good team defense too for half of a season
course.
as well. But I don't think he's making second team.
Let me play
we'll get
devil's
to the
advocate, though.
positives.
As a fan, is it not a good thing that Scotty Barnes wants to play games? If you're going to games and paying money to watch games, don't you want to see Scotty Barnes play?
Of course.
And we get on all players in the league for sitting and resting and this and that. It's like, okay, this guy wants to go out and play basketball because that's what he does. Now, understanding the bigger picture, that's not great for the Raptors, but could you argue that this is a good thing that he wants to be out there?
I think you could spin it any way, but here's the opposite of that. What if he gets hurt? And a lot of these meaningless games, playing second games of back-to-backs, trying to chase ghosts, quite frankly, because you're not making these all-NBA teams. Like, it's just not going to happen this year. I hope it happens going forward. But second night of a back-to-back against the Wizards, knock on wood, but, like, what if something bad happens? Like, it's just the juice isn't worth the squeeze, in my opinion.
Also, too, if they're going to bench these dudes for the fourth quarter anyways, we'll go back to it for the third time. What's the point of playing Pirtle if you were going to bench everybody in the fourth quarter anyways?
I absolutely agree with you. You know, one of the things we talk about, like off camera, we talk about the difference between a sport like NFL and NBA, and one of the big things is one sport has helmets on players, one player is very visible. My main concern right now with everything that's happening is the individual more important here, or is the team more important here? And I think in football, that's what's so beautiful about the sport of football. It's all about the logo. It's all about the chest, what you got on the chest. Right now, I don't think the Raptors organization is being emphasized more than the feelings of the individual players on the team. You've talked about this on a previous pod. Hey, these players are technically interchangeable, but the logo is not going to change on the chest. So right now, that's what I get concerned about. It's like, are the individual feelings and players so much more important that it supersedes what the organization is trying to achieve long term? And that this is where, like, it's like a short and a long term thing that I get so frustrated watching.
I think the best franchises are able to manage that balance.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like, you can talk to your guys and just be reasonable with them, right? Like, hey guys, I know you guys want to play. I know we want to build stuff here. We want to build something going forward, but this is not the time to do that because we can bring in someone to help us go to where we need to go.
I have a question for you. You're in the bowels of the arena every home game.
Yeah.
And you stated you're hearing that Scotty wants to play 65 games. What's the vibe among both the team and the people covering the team when that conversation comes up about Scotty and playing 65 games?
The difference between what you hear on air and what you talk about off.
Well,
air.
hey, shout out to Leo. Leo speaking the hard truths for the Raptors fan base.
I think Leo, he's found God. He's being very honest. Like, he's being incredibly honest. And and I'll talk to someone like Kia Nurse, who's very much on the player side of things. But here's the thing. I think the players get it.
Yes.
I think they understand it, but nothing is promised for these players, right? Like you said yourself, they're interchangeable. So I understand from their perspective that they are looking out for themselves and their future equity in the league. We've discussed this ad nauseum. It's just, I think if you're a Raptors organization, a championship organization, are you unable to sit down and have a conversation with these guys, conversation with their representation, and just say, hey, we have an investment in you guys, in this team, in this core going forward. For this season, we need y'all to rein it back. We are going to start seeing what we have with a lot of these younger players. Like Mobo now is healthy. Jacoby Walter is healthy. Like, I want to see these guys play 30-plus minutes. When's the last time Jamal Shed consistently played over 35 minutes in a game, right? Like, I want to see some of these younger guys get a lot of rope. And I think Darko's done a good job at letting them make mistakes.
On a positive to that, like, Brandon Ingram, kind of going to be the adult in the room when the time comes. An ankle sprain of this nature cannot take as much time as it's taken.
If the Raptors are trying to make the playoffs, Ingram would be playing.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, like, hey, Brandon Ingram's on board.
Yeah.
Shout out Brandon Ingram. He understood the assignment.
He understands the assignment.
Yeah.
So, like, what's going on with the rest of the team? Like, this guy gets it. He's going to come in ready next year, but he's clearly being asked not to play. There's no way he's not healthy right now. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's fine too. He already got paid. What does he care? Like,
but all these guys have been paid.
But here's
the thing. Like, they've been paid. Like, all of them have long-term salaries. So it's not like you're not making an investment in them in the future.
Listen, man, at the end of the day, it sucks. I'm tired. It's over. The season needs to be over
games
for the
are
Raptors.
hard to watch
it's
now.
10 to 12 games. It's fool's gold. None of this means anything. Like, Emmanuel quickly has a good game against the Wizards. What am I supposed to do with that? Is that carrying over into next year? I don't know. You're playing against the worst team in the league. So it's just like, man, let's just put a bow on the season. Hopefully you get the best pick possible. But if we want to talk about what this means in terms of where they're at in the standings or the draft lottery, could you make the point that maybe the top aside from Cooper Flag, the 2 through 8 is so unclear that maybe it doesn't matter as much as we're making it out to be.
Yeah, your odds for 1, that's what everybody's gunning for. Beyond that, I think it's a little bit more, it's getting cloudier by the day.
But going back to a conversation we've had in the past. So that year the Raptors traded for Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah.
You were very much anti that trade and wanted them to put in as many eggs in the Wembanyama
did.
basket as possible. Obviously Cooper Flag isn't Wembanyama.
Sure.
So should that not be the case this time around?
Oh no, I want them to.
Because they were closer to the play-in when they
Yeah.
finished 500 and lost to DeMar DeRozan's daughter.
Yeah.
But now, they're nowhere near the play-in. They're 6 games back or whatever. But you're closer to the bottom. Why not emphasize that point?
They
Also,
should.
too, six games from the Heat team that just lost 9 straight too,
10
and you
straight,
still couldn't make up any ground.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just. I know we're going to probably be locked into 7th last. I know that the top 5 could be interesting. I know Javon was telling us off.
It's a little more fluid.
It thinks a little bit, but it's a Cooper Flag draft, and we've seen what he's doing right now in the tournament. Should you not do what you can?
Yes, you should.
The foundation of Barnes and Flag and Ingram, that's juicy. That's very enticing to me.
You're going to look back at the season and there's going to be a few pivotal moments that may have cost them, an optimal chance at Flag. You look at the Orlando back-to-back. You have a 3-0 record against Philadelphia. That kills you right there. That's 5 wins.
8-game win streak.
Right?
To Fab's point about what are you building towards? I know our audience. The comment section is going to say, why are you idiots saying that they should lose games? You're building towards next year. When you're playing against nobody, what does it matter? There's nothing sustainable from this. We cannot take anything positive from these games. And
March is it's not real.
Yeah.
Right? The best teams in the league have kind of taken their foot off the gas.
Silly
right?
season. There's a reason they call it
Josh
that.
Giddey's the best player in the world
Hey,
every March.
let's not.
Right?
That's the one thing we can take from
If
this
you watch
month
Josh
that's real.
Giddey in March, you think he's a freaking Hall of Famer. but to your point,
I will not stand for this Giddey slam.
No, you will not. We understand.
I'm obviously, clearly, Fab is saying that just to let the audience in. We're in a little bit of a fantasy civil war here, as I'm playing Fab in a finals, Wes is playing Fab in a finals, Hambone probably didn't make playoffs in any of those leagues.
I'm out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But
Anyways,
that's where the Giddey hate is coming
but
from.
to your point, though, 7th last, the 2 to 8 can be jumbled. If that's the case, don't you want to ensure who you are drafting? Of
course.
Right?
Yeah.
So lose as many games as possible, and then you determine what you want to do. I mean, Jack Armstrong and Javon Shepherd have both been vocal about potentially trading down if there's, because this Raptors salary situation might be very complicated come summertime. I just think that right now, to your point earlier as well, you're just chasing ghosts. It's all false confidence.
Yeah.
You want to pad your stats in March? Cool. I'm sure the players love it. But Raptors have already committed to these guys. What are we doing here exactly? 2 big games this week. I'm still holding out a little bit of hope. You got Brooklyn on Wednesday. You got Philly on Sunday.
Those are 2 wins.
You lose. They're both on the road.
Just hammer Raps money line. Just hedge the emotion.
just pull everyone in those games. Pull absolutely
It might
everybody.
be too late.
Yeah.
It might be too
To your point about 2 through 8, that's a perfect transition point. We've seen a weekend of March Madness.
Yeah.
Have you seen anybody jump out that maybe you I know you guys broke down the players before, but is there anyone who jumped out through that first weekend other than Flag that has really impressed you that you think you'd love for the Raps?
Cooper's been amazing. We all outlined a bunch of guys in our regional bracket. We just did it from a Raptors draft perspective. I think the 2 guys that jump out are bigs, which I think we're all pretty aligned on. That's the position I think the Raptors could use
Theoretically.
behind
Yeah.
Jakob Poeltl. Derek Queen, who had a buzzer beater against
only one.
Colorado
But hold on,
State.
it's not just the buzzer beater. It is the quote that comes with it of "Give me the MF and ball." That's the attitude you want. But we talked about this before. I'm still not sure what his NBA comp is because it's kind of a weird body. I don't. What is he? If he can't consistently hit threes, how does he fit in an NBA game?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think his best case scenario is probably someone like Karl Anthony Towns, but again, the shooting really needs
The
to make
best
a
shooting
leap.
big man of all time.
Yeah, exactly. The shooting really needs to take a leap. But the guy's ambidextrous, finishes both hands, says he wants the ball at the end of the game, gets it, hits a buzzer beater. There's something to that. So yeah, I'm intrigued by his skill set. I think he's incredibly smooth and polished, but yeah, the defensive stuff as well. A lot to be desired. But
Defensively, he might have some issues at
Yeah,
the next
it could
level.
be.
It depends. It depends how much he gives you offensively. He could be a hub, right?
yeah, he can facilitate offense from top of the key. He's getting The first game, he was getting doubled like right away, so he had to be a facilitator. And then Colin Malawach.
Yeah. So like, if you're seeing where the Raptors going to drop in the draft, Malawach, if you're watching, Malawach watch.
Yeah.
If you're watching him, he looks really good. I think the main thing is it's a fit thing.
Yeah.
I think we've said this on the spot a million times. The Raptors offensively very gifted. It's the defensive side of the ball that you want a little bit more coverage. That's a guy that can come in and really fill a gap that the Raptors haven't had for a long time. And look, we talk about hard truths. One of the things about Jakob Poeltl in the middle of a career year, obviously tons of positives, but you have to ask the hard question. He's like going to be on the wrong side of 30. Is he ever going to be a lob threat ever at this stage in his career? And he's not. No, he's not.
That's all Malawach can do.
And that's a hard truth. That's a hard truth. Whether as much as we're positive about Yak, he's not a rim threat like that. You bring in a guy like Malawach, who defensively gets to balls, coverage like crazy, and then on the offensive end gives IQ, gives whoever's ball handling one extra look when it comes to an outlet on offense that Yak can't give you. That's the type of thing that can really open up
honestly,
your offense.
all he wants to do is rim run, and even if you bring him in and he stay like for a first year, he's playing like 18 minutes. That guy will still give you like a couple blocks and play good D in that time.
If you're drafting a big, you certainly have to exercise more patience, just because they take so much longer to develop than a guard. You can just say, "Here, go and take the ball." And I like things we've seen from Malawach, but looking forward at the bigger picture, do you want a big who has no chance at being like a floor spacer?
So I mean, he
No, but
he bagged a three.
Yeah,
like, in the
Malawach has
tournament.
some range.
So you think at the next level he could be that guy? Maybe.
But to your point, like about having that patience, because there's no need for him to be inserted to the starting lineup right away. You can slowly develop that, cultivate that.
He has no offensive game whatsoever.
No.
But you can teach someone with no offensive game just to hit an open three.
Yeah.
Like you can work on that and only that. And if he can rim run and hit an open three, you don't need to do anything else.
like-
I don't need you to create your own shot otherwise.
And like I think we talked about it, like those guys are unicorns.
Yeah.
The Raptors were blessed during that title run because they had two of them, right? Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, guys who could protect the rim.
But his athleticism too is just off the charts.
It's incredibly enticing.
Yeah.
I still like VJ Edgecombe. I know he didn't have a great game against Duke. I liked how he looked in the opener.
Yeah.
Still very athletic. I mean, I think his shot has come around later in the year. I think he's improved in that regard, and I think his floor is high. Like I just don't see VJ being bad, right? Like I think at the very least he's like a high-end role player. And, if he grows even more, like a potential all-star, right? Yeah.
We watched the game together Friday, and there were a couple moments where his defense had us kind of jumping out of our seats. Very, very active defender. It's tough to take anything from that Duke game because they just got smoked so early. But like he's still
these are 18-year-olds.
I know.
Playing in a high leverage.
And we're judging a one-off.
Yeah,
right?
what are you gonna say? Like this one game makes or breaks this guy as a.
It's small sample size stuff, right? We parachute in come March. We're just like, oh yeah, draft this guy, draft this guy.
Yeah, man, I'm not an expert on college ball. I'm just saying what I've
honestly,
seen, right?
The athleticism. You watch him and it's like, oh, this guy's. He looks like an athlete enough to be a good NBA player. So
Malawach fits a lot of the things that I think would be beneficial for the Raptors. To me, he's the guy. And to your point earlier, like, if you're drafting 5th or 6th, you can ensure you draft a guy like that.
That's what it comes down to. Whether you think he's the 5th best player, just you can ensure who you want, right?
Yes.
But what I'm interested too is, like, does Ace Bailey slip now? Does Dylan Harper, because they're not playing the tournament?
Sucks not to watch him.
Does their stock take a hit? Yeah. Like, what if Ace Bailey's floating around in the 5 or 6 range?
So right? My thought on that is like, who's really stood out in this tournament so far?
Only Cooper. No one else.
And so there you go too. So as much as I would say, their stocks drop because they can't win at this level, I also think they're not getting punished. By any of these players that could supersede them. No one's popped off the screen, right? Cooper's the exception. And he's already going first.
Yeah, and you should have tried harder to tank for Cooper.
It's
right?
over.
When we look back at it, you're gonna look at those percentage points and say we should have done more.
Do we have any more truths to tell about the Raptors?
Honestly, you know what?
Positives?
I have a positive.
Okay.
I really like Darko, and I think Darko has done a great job with the situation that he's inherited this year, because it's really tough to both management telling you to lose games while also kind of keeping the guys all together as a unit. And I think Darko has done a really good job, and I'm confident with him coming back next year as a coach.
The main attribute I look at as in a coach is, can you get your players to play hard all the time?
Yeah.
Like that to me is,
and they've played hard.
And they've played hard.
The
And they've
defense,
remained together.
that's not a lineup. That's not a roster of elite defenders, and he had them playing good team defense for like.
No, it is not.
But he had them playing good team defense,
Yes.
which that wasn't his that wasn't supposed to be his thing. He's supposed to be an offensive
And I love
guy.
the back and forth with Darko and Draymond Green because the game plan against the Warriors that game was just let Draymond shoot threes, which I think is the
He
right way to
punished
go
them,
about
though.
it. I think Darko's ability to implement game plans from game to game and get a young group to commit to that game plan. And I think they did a great job executing that plan as well. I think Draymond had some nice words for Darko post game.
He is one of the most intense coaches in the league. I love talking back and forth to him when we play against those guys. Got a lot of respect for him. He's a great basketball mind in this league.
Like, he seemed like a fiery guy. I think your ability to get young guys to play hard all the time, even when the season is slipping away. And that's, I guess, the ultimate counter argument to the whole tanking thing, right? Like, you still want to instill and build a lot of this mentality into your young guys. So going forward, they don't have any bad habits.
Draymond Green, DPOY.
Great call, by the
But
way.
if we were going to say, like, if we're looking at this Raps team and, like, what did we learn this year? I think we didn't really learn anything on IQ. We didn't really learn anything on Scotty that we didn't already know.
I think it was defense has made a leap.
Oh, yeah.
We learned a lot on Darko. And I think RJ, we've learned a bit, like, the improvement with the playmaking we've talked about. And the
Playmaking's
efficiency.
been great.
Yeah.
Defense still
Like,
a lot to be desired.
But I don't know anything different than I
think
would
we
have
will.
last year.
I mean, if you're talking about positives, I think we didn't see as much, but I think like one negative on Quickly for me is his ceiling a guy like Damian Lillard who is just one side of the ball. Like, you're never going to look at him as anything net positive on the defensive end. I'm worried about that with IQ, that his only contributions come on one side.
Well, Lillard is like light years ahead of
But you know,
Quickly.
but
So
that's-
I mean, he can justify that.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's what
Quickly,
I'm saying.
you can't be like an okay offensive player and terrible defensively. Then you're just that's not a starting player, right? So I don't know what else.
You're
have we
saying
learned?
IQ should be coming off the
No,
bench?
have
we gone full circle
No,
here?
we need to see more, right? Like, I just think this year's kind of a write-off. I want to see Quickly if all guys play the most because he missed so much time, and I think we need to see it. But to your point, like, I don't think we can make any real declarations on what he is at this point.
I think one thing is for sure, the people in the comment section, you need to appreciate the labor we're putting in by watching this Raptors team every game. It's getting harder. Every game it's getting harder. And these next two, after that, I'm like, let's just evergreen Raptors content the rest of the way because it's too hard.
You know what, I have a positive. Jameson Battle's a good three-point shooter.
Yes, he is.
How about that? Nice stroke.
is.
Good for him. I like it. He's over 40% on the year.
Dude, watching games, try producing them, try building same game
Well, but that's what I'm saying.
parlays.
How, like, you must be losing your mind. How do you, day-to-day interesting content with this team is getting next to impossible.
It's not easy, but it's not easy at all. But like, try building same game parlays where you don't know if a player plays 20 minutes. Like, you don't know if they man.
Yeah, I build them. It's called Giddy 15, 7, and 7.
You love your.
That's how you build same game
Well, okay,
parlays.
whatever.
All right, man. Wrap it up.
Okay, so let's wrap on this then. Next 3 games: Brooklyn,
Charlotte,
Philly. Best case so
and then at your boy Josh Giddey. After that, yeah.
so. Do we just like hammer Raps money line and hope for losses? Just do the emotional hedge, like
Probably.
because they're probably gonna go 2-1 or 3-0 in those next 3,
It's been working for
Probably.
you.
and then lose to the Bulls.
Do the right thing.
And you do the right thing. Like, subscribe, catch us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.